we are in the new year, new episode. You know, when we started this whole thing, it was the end of last year, and you know, it's I'm really glad we started it before the beginning of the year. And we've been doing it for a while, just not with the setup. So I'm really excited about the fact that we're going to be consistent about this. So yeah, Happy New Year, Eva. How is really exciting to be in the new year? How are things?
Yeah, excited to be here. It's really our year.
Yes.
Everywhere we look. I don't know if you guys believe in like astrology or anything like that. It's like every time I come across a reading, it's your year. It's going to be awesome. I don't know if it felt like that so far. It's like I've been battling sickness. We had the holidays. I feel like right now it's like colder than ever.
Yeah, I think finally we're getting the cold that, you know, Ottawa's known for. But, you know, there have been a lot of, you know, whenever there are people getting together, people gift each other those amazing gifts as well, which is colds and things like that. So if that's your case, you know, just make sure you take care of you, because your health is your wealth. And I'm really excited to share this episode with what it is that we talked about. We said we'll bring to you guys, which is pretty much the top 5 trends to watch out for in Ottawa in 2025. And we're going to also go into making some predictions as to what we think is going to happen in 2025. So stay tuned. But before anything, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you follow us. And with that, let's get started.
Okay. So do you want to just jump into like our 5 predictions?
Yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't we just talk about, hey, listen, like what is happening with, what do you think? Like what is it that we're seeing in Ottawa?
Well, number 1 is that we're going to have cooling yet steady mortgage rates. So we've already seen they've come down so much. I mean, what was the height of it? We got to like 6%, right?
Yeah.
Even over. And
yeah.
That was in 2023.
Yeah.
And then 2024, it wasn't like too appealing either. But on the way down, it really brings me back to 2022, right? Because in 2022, the interest rates were quite crazy, like 2%. There was moments even before that it was like 1%, like almost. And now we're at 3.25, which isn't like as shocking as 2%, but I think it's kind of the best we're gonna get until the couple next months. It's gonna keep going, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of things happening aside from the mortgage rates. You know, just the other day, we are now Prime Minister-less. We don't have anybody in that is at the helm of our country. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting how that's going to affect real estate. But you know, from what we see is that people are out and about, you know, whether it's buyers or sellers, they feel a lot more confident, and you know, they're more eager to get in there. And this is all good, I think. I don't know if we should be talking about the fact that we don't have a prime minister now. Like, you know, what
I don't know. I feel the exact same. I don't know what's not being done that was being done before. I'm feeling the same. But I do feel like the future in real estate, whether it's with a prime minister or without a prime minister, is positive. And we're in for an early spring, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're in for an earlier spring. It's funny because like in Canada, so like, you know, I go to the US a lot for real estate conferences. A lot of our training comes from all over because we want to really get a good grasp of the market all across North America. So if there is a trend that is happening elsewhere, we can like kind of predict what's going to happen here and vice versa. There's a lot of brainstorming that happens or masterminding that happens all across. And, you know, of course, you know, now we don't have a prime minister. We're being told that maybe we're going to be the 51st state.
Yeah, the 51st state. What would that do to our prices?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, honestly, there's all kinds of, you know, you go to the States. I'm not talking about California or like, you know, the states where homes are really, really expensive. But at the same time, there are a lot of amazing large homes over there. So, you know, given the fact that we've got such like a lot of land here, yeah, I've heard all kinds of backstory with different people that we talk about whenever this whole 51st state thing comes up. I just thought it's funny to bring it up because it's, you know, but anyways, in the States, they're very open as to whatever their sides are in terms of politics. But I think like for us, we like to maybe keep it to real estate and like what's happening here, but also we got a lot going on in our personal lives too that we'd like to share. So, okay, so trend number one is cooling yet steady mortgage rates, which is awesome. Hopefully, you know, with the new year, things are going to get better. Listen, we got better rates than the States, so that's great. Trend number two is something that we're seeing a lot, right? We're seeing a lot, and that is multi-generational living.
Yes.
And I think that is, the reason for that is because a lot of people are finding purchasing a home on their own really expensive. Number one, it's hard for them to actually qualify. And number two, it helps with, you know, having other family members living together, right?
Yeah, I do feel like part of it is obviously the cost of living, because we've seen it in Toronto for so long now. It's not new in Toronto to have like 10, 20 people on a title. Like a lot of people, they get together whether they're living in the home or not to like make it happen. And I feel like a lot of times people that have families like moving to Canada, they'll do it for each other, which is awesome. Like I feel like being from Ottawa, family is like, I'm not going to get involved in your finances at all. And it's like, come on, give me a step up. But I think it's like so closely linked to like also the cost of childcare. Like if you have like a mother in the home with you, like that's so amazing. So the child can be watched.
Honestly, every kind of care. I remember, you know, I was having a conversation with my father before he passed. I said, Dad, during your dad's time, you know, one person would work, usually the father, and everybody else would just be chilling, you know, like living life, you know, like the mom would stay at home, take care of the household, do all those things. And, you know, my dad, as you know, but I don't think people here, the viewers know, he was actually from Iran. And at that time, it was before the revolution. So it was a free country, okay? Just like I think the other day you were talking about how Afghanistan used to be like this modern place. Iran used to be a very modern place as well. And women had women rights. So don't think that the fact that women weren't working had something to do with women rights. It's just like they really, you know, were more for the household and things like that. So when I had this conversation with my dad, I said, then, you know, your generation came and like, you know, men were working more hours. And, you know, my mom's generation, my parents' generation is a generation before your parents' generation. They were a little bit earlier for their time. So they were both working, which was great. And then, you know, the generation after that, which is your parents, they actually the two of them started working. Now, in today's generation, like my generation, the two parents, not only do they work, but they have several like jobs. It's not just the one job. They do two jobs sometimes. They have one and then they have a sidekick and things like that. And unfortunately, that's how it's become for people to be able to afford living. And, we work so much, which is crazy. And so if you're working so much, who's taking care of the household? Who's taking care of cleaning the house and, cooking meals and things like that? So multi-generational living kind of takes care of that, I think, right?
Yeah.
Having like a bunch of different people be in charge of cleaning, cooking and things like that, because it's expensive to get a cleaner. Very expensive, right? It's like, I don't know, like in Ottawa, I think it's anywhere between, like, it's normal to pay $40-50 an hour, or high 30s an hour for a cleaner to come in and clean your home, and it's not to your standard. So multi-generational living is something that we're seeing more and more, and even like builders are building to cater to that kind of need as well. So we're seeing a lot of new builders doing that as well. The trend number 3 is
the expansion of suburban and ex-urban areas.
So, we are looking at, a lot of the times people in Ottawa have a tendency to want to stay in Ottawa, but if you're looking for something new, either you have to, look for an infill, or which are going to be very expensive, or if you're looking for something new, you got to go outside. So those are like your Barrhaven, Canada on the west side, and on the east side you've got Orleans, but even Orleans is like pretty much developed. I think now it's like, going into Embrun, Limoges and all that area. So these are the other communities that we see that, they're a perfect blend of affordability, charm, safety. I love that about Ottawa. Very family friendly and very safe. Yeah.
Yes. So
trend number 4.
4 is we're going to see more green and smart home options. I mean, that's been really happening already. Every time you go to the builder, they have something more green and more technologically advanced than the time before. So it's not just Ring doorbells anymore. It's like you could have music throughout the whole house. You can talk to everybody on speaker sometimes. I used to see a lot more solar panels. But now for the green that I'm mostly seeing, it's just like energy efficient. Like furnaces, and then they're changing the windows to be more energy. Have you noticed anything like that?
Maybe the reason why we're not seeing solar panels is because, it's snowing right now.
Where is the sun? But that was a big thing. I feel like when I first got into real estate, it was like all these new, very techie homes in Canada, and like everybody was saying like every home is going to have solar panels all over their roofs, and everybody's going to be. Yeah, I really heard a lot of that. Also, there was a big push at that time. I remember I'd go and see all these like tiny homes for eco-friendly, affordable living.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think the tiny homes took off like maybe we were all, me was predicting. I looked at those as an option all the time. Like, hey, could I, live in my parents' backyard for the rest of my life? And I think we all decided that it's a big no.
It became multi-generational living.
Yeah, maybe keep everybody inside.
It's funny with like tiny homes, I didn't know anything about them. And then I got a call one time to the office, and this person called and said, oh, I was trying to like buy, I don't know, something like a car, not a car, the trailer. And it just happened that I called a real estate office. I think there is, there's some kind of a reason. I believe in these things. Things happen for a reason. And as you know, I'm like that. You're like that.
Yeah.
Like, we believe in these extra things that happen. So then he's like, yeah, can you come to see my property? I'm looking to sell. And I went to see this property, and it was beautiful. It was like a big land. And what it did was it had a bunch of like little homes that were built into like whatever that function was. So like, let's say he had a little home for their bedroom, and he had a little home for their kitchen, and he had a little home for their like bathroom and shower. It was wild. It was like out of this place, out of this world. I mean, sorry. And I was like, wow, this is so like crazy. And he's like, yeah, like we've been living like this for many, many years. And he's like, yeah, now I'm looking to sell it because we're looking to move out of Ottawa and things like that. And it was something really interesting. It's like, we've been living like this for the past 7 years. Crazy.
And how does that work in the winter?
I mean, everything was winter, like they lived throughout the whole year. Everything was like fine. And the way they built it was like, there was no like city anything. All they did was like, you know, with the rain, they would have like a holding place for all the water to go, and like they built out this like mechanism to warm it up for their showers. And like whenever the water would like come out of the shower, he would say like little birds would take a shower too. Like they were so involved with, like, it was so wild. Like I was like, is this really like a thing? It was so crazy.
Yeah, people are so smart and creative.
I mean, that's smart living, but like, and I was like, how do I like market this? This is so crazy. But you know, there is a market for that. But yeah, there's that trend did not happen yet, and it's not happening in 2025. I think what's happening now, our last trend, which is increasing condo popularity. And the reason for that, condos bring in a lot of facility, right? People like to travel a lot, I find. It's very attractive to people who are downsizing, but also like young professionals that like to travel, as well as retirees that like to travel, because they don't have to think about the maintenance. You know, the condo fee covers for a lot of the maintenance, and they just want to be able to like lock it up, make sure it's secure, and kind of take off.
Yeah, I think that it is also meeting a demand for people that don't want to compromise on the location, because like, what's the other option, right? Like if you're wanting to be downtown, well, it's really hard to get a residential property that's not like 100 years old and also affordable, because those do exist. If you did really want to be downtown and you wanted to stay under 550, like you could. But if you would prefer to do something that isn't such a risk when it comes to purchasing a home, you don't want to be the last owner, right? The only way you get your money out is if somebody will buy it from you. These condos are like a great opportunity for, yes, those young professionals. Maybe they don't have kids yet. Maybe they have a baby. It's not too bad for that either. Walkable lifestyle. I
mean, new immigrants. I'll tell you, when I first came to Canada, we lived in a condo. And I thought that for us, it was great. Safety-wise was great. Maintenance-wise was great. It was, of course, it was super, super tiny. And, you know, we had 2 bedrooms and 3 teenagers and my mom with a bathroom. Like, it was a bit of a disaster. But we were new to the country. We didn't know any better. And it kind of was good because we didn't have to worry about the security. I remember something funny. I remember like, hopefully my siblings are not going to listen to this and don't kill me afterwards. But you know how like condominiums or like generally buildings, they run these like tests on like fire tests every month or whatever. So they ran it, and here we were like brand new immigrants, and we were like, oh my gosh, there's fire. Like we're like, you know, panicking and like trying to grab our things, and you know, we're trying to put everything into like into a bag or whatever to just go down, because we don't speak English either. All we hear is like, oh my gosh, there's fire. And we're trying to like, we're like, what about like, we're my dad's Persian, so we've got like Persian carpet. We're like, oh my god, fold the carpet. down the staircase, and we arrive at the lobby, and everybody's like looking at us like, oh, what's going on? Why did you pack your whole, like, you know, your whole house pretty much? And we're like, this is the test. So yeah. But, you know, other than that, I thought like condo living was great because, you know, it protected us from not knowing how to deal with snow and ice and things like that. So speaking of that, you know, the other day I went into a showing with buyers, and there was a couple of things happen. As you know, the weather is really cold now. Mm-hmm. And I went out there, and this has happened to me one other time, but I was like, you know what? I've got the boots. I'm good to go. So I went out there. There was this like thick ice, this much ice, and I didn't see it, black ice, and I just fell. And I was like, oh my God, you know, and I looked around. The very first thing I do, I don't know about you, when I fall, I'm like, I just want to make sure nobody saw that. I'm like, who cares about the injury? I just hope nobody saw that. So I look around, I'm like, okay, nobody's here, great. Buyers are not there. Then I get to the lockbox, and the lockbox was actually installed on the planter. You know, like that, the hanger for the planter. So I'm like trying to reach and grab it, and it's not opening. And I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm going to use my nails to pull the, you know, the lever down. Because done that and broke my nail, injured myself. So I'm like, I'm going to grab a key. But the thing was like so stuck. It was like literally like, you know, stuck. And first of all, it was really hard to move the digits. So I'm like, you know what? It's okay. It's probably like ice. So I told the clients, I'm like, guys, it's frozen. I need to get hot water. Let's go to like the closest coffee shop and get hot water. And they're like, oh, you know what? Don't worry, Anna. We'll get you like coffee. We'll just go over there and buy you coffee. And I said, okay, perfect. When they left, I realized I always have my water bottle. So I went knocking at the neighbor's door. I'm like, hi. And they're like looking at me like, who is this person? I don't know. And I said, can I have some hot water? I'm the realtor. I'm trying to show. So they gave me hot water, all great. Poured it in, got in, everything's great. The agent even told me do that. And I said, I felt, so you want to make sure that you put salt. And that's another thing for sellers. Make sure you put salt on your driveway. Like, I mean, you know, it's one thing. I fell, but you just want to make sure that you don't get something serious happen to someone.
Yeah.
Front lawn.
It's not just the outside of the property, but I have taken like serious falls in front of clients inside the property. Yeah. Like, I don't know, these carpets with your socks, you know.
You fell on carpet?
Yeah, I was like going down the stairs, and it was just like one of those classic, like your feet goes out from under you and you end up just like on your butt. And
oh wow.
Yeah, it happened. We did go ahead and make an offer on that property, and
we did too.
And it didn't work out for just really weird reasons, and I just felt like that was a sign. Like, like if I'm at the property and I'm falling downstairs, like this is not the one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't care how nice it is.
100%.
It's bad vibes.
100%. What about like have you experienced falling on this ice recently? Like, it's pretty crazy. My gosh.
Yes, I have.
So
I already told Anna the story, and she said, you gotta tell it on the pod. It's so funny, even though after I fell, I was hoping nobody saw it, but I guess I'll tell all you guys, like you guys could keep it a secret. So I was going into Shoppers, and I was really in a rush, like wasn't feeling so good, grabbing some feminine hygiene products. This is actually the first time I bought the one in this kind of case too. Like, it's
feminine
plastic
hygiene products. We're so
feminine hygiene products. So it's like in a plastic tube with this top. I'm like trying organic. Like, that's what I'm thinking. And I'm
the kind. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not even going to grab a bag. And I was patting myself on the back, like, wow, you really don't care anymore if people see, you know?
I know, it's true.
I do the self-checkout. I'm, like, scurrying to my car. There was gravel. I slipped on the gravel. I guess I hold the tube a little too tight. The top pops off. There's like tampons raining all over the parking lot. And sometimes too, when I'm in neighborhoods that I've sold something around there, I'm always like, oh my God, like I don't want to run into like so-and-so. And I was just thinking that. I didn't run into anybody. People did see, it's like close to a McDonald's or whatever. And I'm going over the whole parking lot picking these up. I was like,
oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Well, you know, but it's so true. Anytime you go to anywhere that you are not prepped, you just happen to run into someone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, whether it's like any store, I don't want to talk about any store here because there's no sponsorship there, but like, you know what I mean? Like it's true. Whenever you're not like dress accordingly, you happen to run into a colleague or a past client or someone you're working with. They're like, oh, is that really you?
You know what I was thinking about? If somebody was gonna buy a house like really close to you, would you bring it up? Be like, hey, I'm gonna be your neighbor. Just so that when they see you walking with your dog at like
honestly,
midnight.
That has happened. So, you know, I'm very like particular about like where I live, so I don't really discuss it.
Mm-hmm.
But it just happened that, you know, there was someone that we were working with and they purchased a home like down the street. I'm like, where did you move? Which street? I was like, okay, so gotta tell you, I live on that street. They bought like a new build and so anyways, it has happened. And this person's an investor. So like, you know, we worked on the investment property and things like that. But yeah, that does happen. And I know it's happened to you. You ran into like, you know, past and, you know, current clients of yours in your neighborhood. So I totally
I've had, we do our client like Zoom calls, right? Like that's when I first meet them. And I'm always like, oh, like whereabouts do you live? Like, do you want to stay around there? And they're like, oh, I live around this. And in my head, I'm like, okay, me too. I love that area. I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like, I'm very familiar. Anyways, yeah, they lived in the same building as me. Mm-hmm. like at the time, we're like on Zoom call, probably in the same building.
Wow.
I'm like, that is so weird.
Yeah. So anyways, let's change gears regarding the interest rates going down. What do you think of that? Like, I mean, I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. It kind of feels like the time you and I met, right?
Exactly.
Right. When did I meet you?
I think we met in 2019, and I was just in real estate for 1 year. I did like some rentals, and I did like a home sale and a purchase successfully, but it really wasn't the kind of thing that I imagined for myself, because when I got into real estate, I was like, you guys probably heard me say this before, but I really thought like, you get a Mercedes, you get a billboard, like immediately, and like we were good to go. You know, all my friends were gonna start moving, start buying houses, and it's just not that way. Like there's a lot more hustle involved. I thought everybody was like hustle. I was like, not me. Like
honestly, I remember that too. I remember telling my dad, he's like, you're gonna do real estate? Like, you know, you have a degree. Like I thought you're pursuing medical school, what's up? And I said, yeah, you know, I'm just gonna do this for a little bit, you know. I was good at sales. I was good at sales, you know, why not? Like, what do real estate agents do? They just sit all day and collect commission checks. I'm gonna do that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'll just get like rich on the side,
Yeah.
But yeah, and then of course we got into it and realized that it's very different. But yeah, so back in 2019 when I met you, I had already been in Ottawa at that point for 6 years. And, so what were you doing before real estate? Before, like, let's talk about
before because we talked about this too. Like, real estate is usually not people's plan A.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you go to a preschool, what do you want to do when you grow up? Like, no one's like, I want to be a realtor, the number one in Ottawa, actually. Right? Like, they say something else, like, I want to be a spy, I want to be a doctor, or whatever. So, when I was in high school, I kind of wanted to be a lawyer or something like that, and you have to get a degree before you lock in.
I could see you as a lawyer.
Yeah, maybe. Well, there's a lot of future ahead of us. Who knows? I went into the University of Ottawa because you need you need a degree before you just like jump into real estate school. Mm-hmm. I got an honors bachelor of social science. Specializing in conflict studies and human rights with a minor in women's studies.
Ooh, my gosh, that's long.
Well, everybody always remembers, Eva's like into that women's stuff. And
literally, that's me.
They're like, don't even hear the main part, but they're like, oh, women's stuff, that's weird. But I'm a girl's girl. Anna always says that. I'm a girl's girl. And every time I was in the library, I'd be like, learning about war and stuff, and I'm like, this is kind of not it. Like, I don't think this is the right fit for me. At the same time, I was doing like sales at Victoria's Secret. Yeah. So if I look familiar, maybe I gave you a bra. Bayshore Rito Center. There. They definitely pumped my tires. They said. That team there, like, they're so supportive. They made me feel like I'm like a natural. Like, why are you doing that?
Wrong button. Okay.
Wrong button. That's okay. Yeah, no, they did make me feel like I was natural. And then after that, I decided to actually pursue my real estate license in my last year of university. That disappointed my parents.
Oh.
They're like, what do you mean we just spent all this money on school and you're going to go ahead and do something else? I was like, I don't know. It's my time to try stuff. So I was actually a spin instructor, funny enough, after Victoria's Secret. And then, go. Yeah. And, I was doing my real estate license at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's all my stuff.
That is so crazy that you were, you studied what you did and then you chose real estate. It's just like, but how is it like introduced to you, the idea of real estate? Like, who did you see? Like, what made you say, hey, you know what? I want to go into real estate. Like, I want to just try. Did somebody talk to you about it, or was it just like?
Not really. Mm-hmm. But in grade 9, my mom decided to move from Orleans to the West End, and we did have a realtor. She's still in the business, so my inspiration is still amongst us. And I thought she was so, like...
Ooh, it was me. No, I'm just
kidding. You're my inspiration now, but it was someone...
that's
and I was like, this girl's like so fun and like looks like such a fun job, and we're like going into houses and stuff, and I was like, you know what, I really like houses, and I spent a lot of my extra time on Realtor.ca. Funny enough, as a kid, I was trying to convince my dad to move. Like, I was trying to convince people to move. So then when I was a little bit older, like in grade 12 or whatever, when people really tell you to think about these things, I did say to my parents, like, oh, maybe like real estate. And they just told me, like, you cannot make money on commission. Like, there is no way. So that was my deterrent. And that's, why I had to go to university and spend more money and think about it longer and go, actually, I want to do it anyways.
Interesting. For me, I'll tell you, like, I, from as long as I remember dealing with realtors, I did not like them. I never wanted to be a realtor. I was like, yeah, they're just like paid too much for doing absolutely nothing. They don't understand anything. And, it's just like my parents as new immigrants, they dealt with a lot of realtors. I think part of what we were able to build was as a result of real estate. So I got to say, that's the reason why I tell people you can build wealth through real estate. But my experiences with the realtors they chose, now I know, was not the best. And so I never wanted to do that. So my focus was always like, go to school, go do something to do with like, anything but real estate, in particular, go be a professional. And, my parents, as you know, back home, they were both doctors. So when I came here, I'm like, but they couldn't practice in Canada because of all these different regulations and red tapes and things like that. They're amazing doctors, but they couldn't practice
Which
here.
is crazy. Because we're
crazy.
so short on doctors.
Yeah, and my mom, she tried, but here she is like trying to do that, but at the same time, she's got 3 teenagers. There's a whole backstory to that, and I'm hoping to share that at the next episode maybe. But so when my parents came here, and I felt like that was taken away from them. They were robbed from like something that they loved doing, and they gave it up for like me and my brothers. And so I was like, you know what? I gotta get it back for the team, So I was like really, I was really like convicted. So I, that was my whole focus. Like, I gotta go to medical school. So that's the reason why I have a bachelor's in science. And again, we should talk about this because this would make like such a, I think, an interesting story how we got to where we are today. But yeah, so basically I signed up for real estate. So the whole thing with the bachelor's of science was like I was doing it, but it wasn't going smoothly, And in the back of my head, I was like, if it's not going smoothly, then maybe I'm not supposed to be doing this.
Yeah.
And I remember I was studying for my organic chemistry exam, and for those people that are in the sciences, they know organic chemistry or orgo is very interestingly challenging. And I remember like my book was like this thick, and I was looking at these formulas, trying to figure it out, trying to remember my final exam. And my mom walked in the kitchen because I was at the kitchen table studying, and she looked at me and she goes, do you really want to do medicine? And I said, what do you mean? Like, I am supposed to do this. Like, all my life, you guys have said I should do this. And she's like, no, I don't want you to do this. Go have a life, like, you're gonna, if, like, this that you're studying, you're gonna have to study much more than that every couple of months in medical school. And at that moment, it was like, oh my gosh, this, like, weight was lifted off my shoulders. And I remember going into my exam and thinking to myself, oh, thank goodness, I don't have to be a doctor. But I was thinking to myself, so like now, what do I do? And she said to me, she was like, I wanted you to go into the world of business. That's what I wanted you to do. I always envisioned you doing that. And that just like stuck in my head. And I love that idea for myself. And when I end up doing that exam, like when I finished that, I remember like sitting in the middle of the exam, looking at the ceiling, smiling to myself, and looking at everybody else just like being like all frustrated. And I'm like, well, I guess we don't need this. This is just like, gonna be done. And but I never thought, business, like I never equated business with real estate. I always thought real estate agents, no, whatever. So I finished my degree, and then I remember seeing a friend of mine who also finished her degree, and she said, you know what, Anna? So her and I wanted to go to medical school together, and she goes to me, Anna, the best way to do it is to go through the nursing school. And I said, oh yeah, York's got this amazing nursing program that if you have a degree, you just do like 2 years and you are already a registered nurse. And I said, okay, you know what? Why don't you just go ahead and do it, and I'll follow you. She did that. And, you know, I took some time and I was like, yeah, I gotta go back to school. Like, you know, I was thinking like e-commerce. That was my mindset when it came to like business.
Wow.
I wanted to go into, I don't know, like back then, it was very new, but like selling into Amazon, you know, being one of those. And you know what? If I did that, it would have been probably, I don't know, but I think I would have had like, you know, more faster results is what and probably less challenges.
That's
honestly.
crazy.
Yeah.
I was really like, I was doing all the Google, like, I've looked it up, all of it up, like drop shipping, these print on demand stores. You can make journals on Canva, and you can make t-shirts and like all of these things. You can make courses. Oh, wow. There's like e-commerce. There's a million ways to do it.
Yeah, so I was looking at that. And then funny enough, here's the crazy part. So I was like, you know what, maybe I'll do that. Then I looked at going back to school. I'm like, I have to do something. I have to still be a professional. I'm not going to go into sales. So I looked into doing accounting. So I signed up for, I tried to like sign up for accounting. I did sign up for accounting, but all the courses were full. So I'm like, wait a minute, I have to wait again. And at the same time, a good friend of mine, very close friend of mine, she wanted to go into police academy, and for like a very far away family friend or family member didn't pass through the, what's it called? The, you know, the like, checks,
like the
background checks and all that.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with this poor girl. But because of that, so like, you know how my thing was like medicine, hers was police academy. So she was devastated. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to do this, you know, and I won't be able to get into policing. And so I said, you know what? I'm actually thinking of getting into accounting. And she's like, okay. And I was like telling her how amazing it is, how it's like, you know, recession proof and everything.
Selling her on it.
Seriously. And you know what? My friend that's in nursing, she is a specialized nurse. She's considered one of my best friends. I've known her for such a long time. She's a specialized nurse. I have my other friend who is now an actual like chartered accountant. So she's doing that for life. And here's what happened to me. It's so funny how like life happens.
Did you tell your second friend too? Like, I'll follow you.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
I
100%.
I'm right behind you. Right there behind you. And then suddenly this girl comes into my life and she goes to me, you know, her and I click. She just came from Dubai. And she goes to me, you know what? I love real estate. And it's such a great opportunity. It's so quick. You know, you just get your license. I love the hustle and bustle. And you know that, like, I love the hustle and bustle. That, I think that sentence right there sold me. And I'm like, me too. I love the hustle and bustle. Like, I'm such a go-getter. And I signed up. And guess what? She didn't sign up.
I'm so happy she didn't. It makes this story so much better.
Yeah, she didn't sign up. I am the realtor. I have done all of this, and she never did it. And it's like, you know, there's always somebody that makes you do something, and then you just, like, it's just the tool that was supposed. And, you know, real estate, like whether getting into it or getting my license, like everything works so perfectly until I got like my license and like, you know, but like getting the clients, that was a whole different story. Yeah.
But the fact it wasn't easy just is what makes you become something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. I think like if you didn't work hard, then you wouldn't be able to cherish it, right? That goes with everything. But I think I love that we are talking about, you know, life in general. I think like a lot of people can relate to that. And I love to maybe do more of this if you like it as well. I don't know. What do you think, Eva?
Yeah, I think we should definitely infuse it with more stories, personal notes. I'd love to talk about like entrepreneurial stuff, wellness, and just infuse a lot more fun into it instead of being like boring.
Yeah. To make it really real. So
yeah.
Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure that you subscribe to our channel. We're gonna bring in more fun stuff. Hopefully, tell us in the comments if you guys liked what you watched today, and if you have any sort of ideas, if you want to know anything about us in particular, we're happy to share. And on behalf of Eva, myself, I want to say thank you so much for joining us for yet another podcast. And we hope to get it better and better with each episode. Right, Eva?
Yes.
Nice. Well, thank you so much. See you guys next week.